Levi's Stadium, it is time for the preseason finale. I was just in the tunnel. The Chargers bus showed up. Jim Harbaugh came off first. NaVorro Bowman, who is San Diego's linebackers coach, came off next. And yes, I say San Diego instead of Los Angeles on purpose. And then following that, the starting quarterback for the Chargers today, Trey Lance, exited the bus, headed on over to the locker room. That's where the Chargers are now. They'll take the field in a little bit for preliminary warm-ups here at Levi's Stadium. As you can see, the grass is looking very green, some of the best turf in the NFL, and the weather is perfect. Wind is blowing in off the San Francisco Bay, but we can't really feel it down here on the field. You know, this is one funny thing about Levi's Stadium. Because of the gaps they've built into the corners here, which have been minimized a little bit by the new big scoreboards that you can see. But because of these gaps, especially the one over here facing north, there is some late afternoon wind that comes in fairly aggressively off the San Francisco Bay. And Robbie Gould, the great kicker, was here with the 49ers for several years, said this is one of the trickiest places in the NFL to kick. I think he actually said one time that this is a trickier place to kick than Candlestick Park, which is crazy to me because it really swirled at Candlestick Park. But here at Levi's, this is a design that initially was supposed to go down at Candlestick Point. Here at Levi's, there also is a bay effect with the wind, and it comes from the bay, which is north of us, through the gaps here, then it swirls around a bit. I do wonder if it's changed dynamics a bit with the new scoreboards, which this is the largest 4K video square footage in the entire National Football League. Here, and you could rotate up to here. Those are the two new boards, and they've got banners across. They're off right now, but the banners, which are at the top of the lower deck and between the lower deck and the club level, those display the score. Oh, now they just turned on. Perfect timing. They turned on just for the video. See, 49ers, Chargers, 95 minutes on the clock. Pregame clock has not yet started here at. We get to see Trey Lance. We get to see not a lot of 49er starters. I'm sure some will be out there, but no Brock Purdy for San Francisco. The 53-man cut down is on Tuesday. Brian Robinson Jr., that trade has not yet been made official, and I'm guessing it's because the 49ers weren't planning to play him tonight anyway, because if you play him tonight, you have to activate him onto your roster and you have to cut somebody else. And since this is going to become a big-time eval game, the 49ers want as many players who need to be evaluated to be available as possible. So they won't make the corresponding cut for the Brian Robinson Jr. trade until after this game. Then the cut down on Tuesday means there's going to be a ton of roster movement then. But in many ways, the cut down for the 49ers already started with the first trade, with the Sky Moore trade, and then with the Brian Robinson Jr. trade. That's all stuff that is related to the cut down for San Francisco, because those trades probably were just ways for the 49ers to cut in line for players who might have otherwise been cut by their respective teams. So it's a very nominal cost, right? Especially for Sky Moore, it was a 6th and 7th round pick swap, and then for Brian Robinson Jr., a 6th round pick headed over to Washington. The Moore trade essentially free, especially if you believe that the 49ers are more effective picking in the 7th round than the 6th round anyway. And the Robinson trade, well, they traded away Jordan Mason for a whole lot more, a much bigger return to Minnesota. They used that to pick up Marquise Siegel, who might be a starter for the 49ers come week 1. And they turned around and effectively replaced Jordan Mason with Brian Robinson Jr., who should be a 49er soon enough, once the physical is officially passed and once that is in the books. They're going to have to make that corresponding move to make that happen. So the two quarterbacks tonight, since Brock Purdy's not going to be playing for the 49ers, are going to be Carter Bradley and Tanner Mordecai. Remember that Mac Jones is not available for San Francisco today. He has a knee sprain. Why don't we take a little bit of a walk over this direction? I don't want to step on any of this pristine grass during the video. I don't want to ruin anything they have going on here at Levi Stadium. As you can see, the first Chargers are out on the field for initial warm-ups. It's not nearly as hot as it was a couple weeks ago here at Levi Stadium ahead of that game against the Broncos. And we already have that late afternoon wind coming in as well. So the breeze is here. The preseason scores are up on the board. And, oh, look here. I just noticed that's Greg Roman walking around the field, former 49ers offensive coordinator. So I told you I saw Jim Harbaugh, also saw Greg Roman get off the bus. So Roman is doing his pregame walk around the premises. And we're going to have football here tonight at Levi's Stadium. No official transactions for the 49ers today. So we'll have to wait until that Brian Robinson transaction comes through. And that very likely is going to happen after this game, probably tomorrow. I think officially it has to come through on the NFL's transaction wire. The league at this time of the year releases that once a day, usually around 2 o'clock. That's why you see a lot of news drop at that time. And we're just bracing ourselves for a lot of moves because every single team in the NFL is going to have to cut 37 guys come Tuesday, assuming they have 90 on their roster Tuesday. Some teams, I think, have already started a bigger cluster of cuts. Some of the teams that played last night. So I think it was Buffalo was one of the teams that had already executed a number of cuts when I looked at the transaction wire. So Tuesday is not going to see all 1,200, 37 times 32 players cut around the league. Some of them already happening right now. But between now and Tuesday, you're going to see 1,200, nearly 1,200 roster cuts around the entire NFL. So Lance is going to start today. Lance has gotten a lot of time this preseason. We've seen some decent stuff from Trey Lance, but on the aggregate, still not passing all too efficiently. He's actually only at 6 yards and a 10 over the course of this preseason. I think his best start was the first one in the Hall of Fame game. That's the one that most people probably watched because it's the very first preseason game played of the entire season. A lot of people worried about the 49ers defense. Are they going to get a pick against Lance? At the end of the day, who really cares? It's the preseason. I'm sure that Trey will do some good things. I'm sure some of the 49ers young defensive players will do some good things. We'll talk about it all, but there's really not going to be a point to discuss anything in a team-wide football context tonight because this is all about evaluation. It's the final preseason game. The 49ers treated this week as a dress rehearsal, but they have too many injuries right now to even consider treating this game as a dress rehearsal. They used to treat week 3 as something where all the starters played for a half, but it's not something the 49ers are willing to chance. You remember last week, Brock Purdy looked so solid in that first drive. That was all the 49ers needed to see, right? Purdy, strong, crisp in his connection with Ricky Pearsall, and you go from there. There was nothing else that San Francisco needed to fine-tune. Brock, they think, is ready for the regular season. He's been having an excellent camp for the 49ers, went 16 to 21. Last time that we saw him out there practice was connecting with Ricky Pearsall as he's been for several weeks. So you let it rest. I think last year he played week 3 of the preseason and actually looked good. But that was coming off of week 2 against the Saints where it didn't look good for Purdy and the offense. He didn't have any receivers available in week 2. Injuries were a thing last year for the 49ers as well, in case you remember. But everybody was worried about the week 2 game against the Saints. He went back out there in week 3 of the preseason against the Raiders. Everything looked a lot crisper. Then the 49ers shut it down, and he was ready to go for the regular season. This year, week 2 was so sharp at Allegiant against the Raiders that there was no worries for the 49ers. They're ready to pack it in. They're ready for this regular season. So another rotation around. I'm ready for some questions here as some of the Chargers and their coaches are doing their pregame warm-ups. I think I'm here a little bit too late to catch Robert Saleh climbing up and down the stairs. Robert does the pregame stairs every single game. Yeah, he's not here anymore. These are the ones, he does the entire lower bowl. He does every single step. Oh, there he is. We found Robert. Speaking of, that's him. So Robert Saleh is here doing the stadium steps. Perfect. The goal has been to cover pregame warm-ups early enough so we could see Robert Saleh doing the stadium steps. There he is, powering his way up. That's how he stays in such good shape. And he's still, I think he still has a few more to go because, I mean, if you're doing that one right there, that's Robert. Last time he finished all the way up at midfield. So good for Robert. Going up and down all the stadium steps. He's obviously going to be such a critical part of what the 49ers do this year. Such a young defense for San Francisco. They got to figure out a way to make this work with a lot of inexperience, a lot of new faces, and obviously a lot of new schematic wrinkles coming through. So it's going to be contingent on coaching and delivering a message in an efficient way. So I think there's probably nobody better to handle that under Kyle Shanahan with this system, you know, with the not the defensive scheme system, but the system that the 49ers have set up in their building. I think there's nobody better to do it than Robert Saleh, who's already done it once for San Francisco. Somebody asking if Isaac Guerendo is going to play tonight. We'll find out who's going to play and who's not over the course of the next several minutes. I think that the 49ers are going to come on out here for their initial warm-ups. We'll see who's dressed as if they're going to play. We'll see who's just out there to work out. So the 49ers didn't let anybody know ahead of time what their exact plans were, besides that a lot of starters probably won't play. Now, you could argue that Guerendo might need some seasoning in this game. You could argue that the 49ers might need to play more running backs just to get through it. That's all possible, but also they have to make sure that they're not putting on any unnecessary wear and tear, especially on players at some of those physical running back positions. Robert Saleh is going to be coming down the steps behind me on this one. That's funny, but we'll take a look at the field here. Some of the Chargers warming up. Fans not yet let in. I think that's going to happen in probably 30 minutes or so. Then they start playing the music in the stadium, and at that point, I'm out. I don't want to deal with the music anymore at Levi's, because then it just gets in the way of your mic and you can't hear me talking anyway. I think the new mic that we got, though, has really improved the production quality. Trying to see if Trey Lance is out here for early warm-ups. We saw him in the tunnel a little bit earlier, but he might be throwing on the other side. There's a guy throwing with a baseball glove over there. They're throwing a baseball around on the field. I mean, Candlestick was a multi-purpose stadium. Sorry that the camera's shaky here. You could see that guy throwing for the Chargers. He's got a baseball glove. Candlestick was multi-purpose. You had that infield dirt. John Feliciano, he was on the channel the other day. You guys should definitely check that out with John. He said that he used to play for the Raiders at the Oakland Coliseum. He would hate September, because in September and sometimes I guess into October, depends on how the A's did in that particular year, you'd have the infield dirt, and that was a hard surface. It wasn't as nice as this turf here at Levi Stadium. Anyway, somebody on the Chargers over here thinks that they're about to play baseball. They got multiple guys tossing the baseball around. That's actually pretty cool. There you go. Full game of catch has broken out here at the stadium with baseball gloves. The San Diego Padres are here, not the San Diego Chargers. And yes, I'm saying San Diego and not Los Angeles on purpose. I wish they were still in San Diego. Robert Saleh finishing up the stadium steps. You could probably see him behind me. Yeah, he's right on top right there. He's going to be coming back down. We'll let Robert Saleh finish his workout in peace. His 49ers youngsters today going to have some chances to make a final argument for that 53-man roster. This is your 49ers stadium preview. We'll see you guys soon.